to the Badger Den, guys. I am trying to get these things knocked out. I am still behind with so much news coming out, so let's get this going. There is a carrier group headed over toward Iran right now from the South China Sea. Question is why, if America is not going to be involved? Apparently, the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier strike group is on its way to the Middle East, and it is carrying some FA-18 Strike Eagle Hornets. So these are the primary surface-to-air bomber-carrying, missile-carrying attack planes. The EA-18 Growlers are electrical aircraft attackers, so they're like knocking out comms, knocking out radar, that sort of thing, scrambling the radar of the enemy. The Hawkeyes, I think those are like AWACS, like communications type planes. The C-2A Greyhounds, those are transport craft, like cargo. And the Seahawks, that's like a converted Black Hawk or a version of the Black Hawk that's made to be utilized by the Marines and Navy. And then also several sleuths noticed KC-135s and KC-45 refueling aircraft being sent over to Europe. Of course, from Europe, probably headed over to the Middle East. Question is why? I'm hoping it's just to put pressure onto Iran to say, okay, let's get this done. Let's make a deal. Otherwise, we're getting ready to weigh in. Why now, though? And the question why now is because Israel now claims to have destroyed a third of Iran's missile launchers and claims control over air of Tehran. Frankly, they've had control over the air. This is the latest salvo. Again, even with all that damage to their missile launchers, Iran is still launching a whole hell of a lot of missiles. This is northern Israel. You can't even tell. But this is the northern border of Israel, and they're just still swamping them right now. Again, trying to overwhelm the missile defense system. Again, according to the IDF, a lot of targets being struck, almost 1,000. Full area superiority. They've had that for a while, frankly. 20 plus Iranian senior commands were eliminated. That's the key. Cause enough internal strife and power vacuum to cause essentially the current administration there, the current ruling party, to just fall under, and you basically allow that to cause civil unrest in the country to eat itself alive. And a third of all Iranian missile launchers have been destroyed, according to Israel. I wouldn't doubt it. Otherwise, you'll see some relief. And so there's a chunk done, but there's still a lot being launched. With that said, what's happening now to America, let's focus on here. This is a complete head turner. Trump is now saying he's going to pause the ICE arrests at farms, hotels, and a major shift on immigration enforcement. Great. So senior ICE official Tatum King has sent out an email last week, put a hold on all worksite enforcement investigation operations in agriculture, including aquaculture and meat packing plants, restaurants, and operating hotels. Why? That's disgusting. Like, we're going to reward Tyson Foods, who's come out and knowingly hired illegal immigrants, good paying jobs, and saying, you know what, we're going to keep hiring these illegals and we don't care. So we're going to give them a pass. Why are we giving them a pass? Arrest the CEO, deport him to Mexico, and see what happens to him. This is ridiculous. They're illegals. Get them out. The end. President Trump signaled on Thursday that changes are coming to immigration enforcement, noting that farmers as well as hotel and leisure businesses had complained about his very aggressive crackdown on illegal immigrants. Tough cookie. Who cares? I don't care about your bottom line. I care about Americans. Get them out. Trump folding on this is ridiculous. Now, having said that, maybe he's placating and knowing that he still needs support right now to deport the criminal illegals, because you're seeing riots right now over rapists, over murderers. The left is losing their nuts over illegals who have committed actual crimes, and we're deporting them. So imagine what happens when we start deporting illegals that are just taking American jobs. I mean, that's the only thing I can figure. You got to at least get the criminals out before you can focus on all the others. Let's hope that's the case. Trump goes on to state that farmers are being hurt badly. They have very good workers who have worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back. And you know what's going to happen. What is going to happen is they get rid of some of their people and they end up hiring criminals that have come in. The murders from prisons, everything else. Really? Really? Just get rid of all of them would be the appropriate response. Instead, Trump says that he's going to focus on Democrat-run cities, specifically mentioning LA, Chicago, New York. Again, fine. Focus on them, get them out, but do not give a pass to all other illegals. They all need to be gotten out. They all cut the line. They all cheated the system. They all have to go back and reapply. That's how it works, because that's hurting other people here in America who are impoverished trying to get those jobs. They're instead getting taken by illegals who are getting paid under the table. Why pay an illegal $10 an hour when you can pay an American $20 an hour? Well, easy. You're going to pay the illegal every single time, and that's how it works. It's happening in construction, happens on farms, happens, again, hotel industry, meat packing, because it helps the company's bottom line. Come on, lefty. I thought you cared about the poor, but you don't, do you? Illegal aliens want to expand. Trump is doing this because the illegal aliens are being utilized to expand their voting base, being the Democrats, cheat in elections, grow the welfare state, and rob good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. Yeah, that's true all over the place. So why target them? Let's target everybody. Just hoping that it's once we get the criminals out, he'll start rolling this back and targeting others. Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, Trump's Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security, recently stated that they would push for a minimum of 3,000 ICE arrests per day. That's not going to make the big enough dent that we need. We need double that. We need over 6,000 arrests a day to get 10 million illegals out, and that's just the ones we know of. Frankly, we need about 10,000 arrests a day. 10,000 arrests a day, punting them back to where they came from. Under Trump's new immigration enforcement policy, if you're an illegal, well, I guess you just have to switch jobs to a restaurant, hotel, farm, or meatpacking plant, and you're okay, says Representative Thomas Massie. Again, Thomas Massie, good guy, very, very moral as far as he sticks to his principles, which is something that you cannot say to a majority of politicians. Ban them all. Trump has issued his latest travel ban, which I think is very lacking. Banning people from Afghanistan. This is carte blanche. You cannot come in. Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Great list. Let's expand it. And instead, we've got partial travel restrictions from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Everybody should be banned from Venezuela as well. Like, come on. What are we doing? This is not a time for half measures, and that's the problem. Half measures aren't going to get it done. Why aren't half measures going to get it done? I'm glad you asked. Because this is what's coming. This is what we have to look forward to, is what's happening in Ireland, and this is what will be happening in Britain, France, Germany, and we will eventually see it here. There have been riots going on in Ireland that nobody's talking about. These are immigrants that have come in to Ireland who have been raping children there, essentially. What kind of descendant do you think they come from? If you said Pakistan, you would be correct. If you said Indian, you'd be correct. So that's what's happening, and it's disgusting. And because there is not a prosecution of these people who are being raped, or they're essentially, who have perpetuated the raping of children, for crying out loud, people are taking violence and they're putting justice in their own hands. And frankly, I don't blame them. However, this is not good because people are being caught up in it. For example, the was initially a protest, quickly turned angry as residents broke away from the main event, set out for an immigrant-heavy part of town of 31,000 residents, where the homes they set ablaze, built barricades, hurled blocks and other objects at police. A pregnant woman had to be evacuated and her house was set ablaze. Authorities have condemned what they call hate-filled acts and mob rule. You have a country of about 5 million. You import in 500,000 to 1 million migrants. So you're talking about, I believe it's around 1 out of 6 are migrants in Ireland right now. What do you think is going to happen when that culture you import does not respect women, the right to consent, or children, and they treat them and they attack them according to their culture? you're going to get violence because people will not put up with their children being raped by these immigrants. You can see here where the attacks are coming from. And not only that, it's happening in these other Lisbon, can't even say that, and Newton Abbey. So this is not isolated. This is happening in other parts of Ireland. And you're going to start seeing this in England as well. Why England? Oh, look, Asian men overrepresented in grooming gangs targeting vulnerable children, says the review. So for those who've kept their head in the sand, there have been a report coming out of tens of thousands of young white girls raped by Indian and Pakistani migrants over and over again, and the gangs have just been allowed to continue and perpetuate throughout England. They just allowed it. They covered it up. They didn't prosecute the people and allowed tens of thousands of little girls to be victimized. And why did they allow it to happen? Oh, because even though they knew that it was overrepresented of Asian and Pakistani heritage, Indian and Pakistani, in Manchester, Yorkshire, they allowed it to continue because they thought that it would be deemed racist if they went after them. In fact, the MPs were told to drop the cases or downgrade from rape charges because some of the girls were 15 to 13-year-olds and were perceived to have been consented or been in love with their abusers. Good job, England. You basically gave away your little girls. You sold them out. Frankly, I'm shocked that you don't have more men standing up and burning stuff down over in England for what has happened and been perpetuated on these little girls. Little girls. What happened, England? Where did you lose your balls in your spine? And this conflagration that is happening in Ireland will spread. You'll see it happen in either France, Germany, or England. This is just the beginning, guys. This is what happens when you try to import a bunch of people that don't respect your country, that don't want to assimilate, and think they can set up shop like they don't care. And eventually, we may see this here in the U.S. If you continue to import people who do not think the U.S. is their home, do not want to assimilate, and want to set up little fiefdoms of New Mexico, as you saw with La Raza, and think that they're special and some hot shit, we need to take them down some pegs, because that's going to have to happen. They need to be kicked out. Because guess what? This is America, and we're not going to stand for that. We're not spineless like in England. We don't roll over like they are in France, and we haven't lost our backbone like they have in Germany. We still have ours, and we still know our rights, and we will stand up for our little girls here. Disgusting. Shameful, shameful stuff going on in Ireland and England. Stand up for the little girls.